The Dalby Touch Football Association is a sporting club located within Dalby that caters for the touch football players within our town's community. With 56 senior teams and 120 junior players in 2013 alone, the Dalby Touch Football Association is and continues to grow as the biggest sporting association in Dalby. As a sporting club that caters for people of all ages and abilities, the Dalby Touch Football Association is a collective that attracts and accommodates for a diverse public spectrum. Through this, the club and its members are exposed to and are encouraged to embrace a large diversity of players. It's due to this sense of diversity within the association that the members of the Dalby Touch football community have come to uphold the strong values of inclusivity and equality in sport. As a sporting club that caters for the wider community, the Dalby Touch Association is one that accommodates for a diversity of players in regards to race and ethnicity. Within this sense of diversity, it's evident that the club is most prominently occupied by white people. And this is apparent when looking at the hierarchical organisation within the association, where it becomes clear that the authority figures and referees within the club are predominantly white. And this idea relates strongly to work on whiteness, as we are able to reason this sense of white authority of control through the privileges that come with having white skin. So in saying this, it's obvious that because the authority figures within the club have white skin, then this gives them some socially perceived unwritten privilege over those members who have coloured skin. As an association that caters for the diversity of the wider community, outsiders to the Dalby Touch Association would most likely view the club as more of a working class community. Through their work on class, Bourdieu and Tate allude to the fact that social order is defined through the social stratification and cultural capital of a community's members. And as an element of class that is largely based on economic wealth, social stratification isn't really a prominent depictor of class within the association. However, cultural capital, on the other hand, does play a noticeable role in how people are classed within the association. As a club that consists of those that work in the resource sector, retail, office workers, construction workers, and so on, the taste that is shared by these members in terms of their cultural capital is consistent with the perceived social classification of these people as working class citizens. This commonality that is shared by the members of the Dalby Touch Football Association is one that creates a strong sense of belonging within the club. It's because these members see themselves as being on an equal level in terms of the social hierarchy that they believe that they fit in and belong with other members within the association. Probably the most prominent axis of identity within the Dalby Touch Association is that of gender. The association offers both male and female touch competitions within the touch football season. Now, it's pretty obvious that within sport, men are primarily perceived as the masculine and therefore more dominating gender. And this is really due to their perceived upper hand in regards to strength, speed, agility, game smarts, and so on. And it's due to these perceived dominating factors that men uphold that the association offers separate male and female touch competitions. However, is this perceived idea of male domination in sport correct? Through my experience in touch, I've witnessed females that could literally run rings around their male competitors. So why the segregation of genders in this particular sport? What I primarily put this down to is the influence of gender roles within society. As Hickey states in his writings on identity, gender is worn, it's spoken, it's felt, is consumed, and is most of all symbolically encoded onto the unconscious. This point that's made by Hickey is significant as it alludes to the idea of society's influence over how people view gender within their community. And throughout her work in Gender Roles, Butler alludes to the idea of gender is one that is socially constructed from the acts that people of a particular sex display. Through this and the ideas that Hickey expresses, it becomes evident that through the acts that particular sexes display, society forms this perceived idea of what it must mean to be part of a particular gender, therefore casting an ascribed identity onto anyone of a particular gender, whether they're male or female. And it's through these social constructions of gender that segregation in sport arises. Stereotyped as warm, gentle, kind, expressive, women are perceived as incapable of holding themselves against men in sport, who are socially constructed as masculine, strong, and in some cases violent. It's in this sense that the negative impact of difference within the Dolby Touch Association comes into play. The members of the Dolby Touch Football Association collectively uphold the values of inclusivity and equality within the club. And it's through these values that the members of the association are able to really connect with each other in a way that stimulates a sense of community and belonging. In their studies within the area of sense of community, Macmillan and Chavis have noted that the sense of community is a feeling members have of belonging, a feeling that members matter to one another and the group, and a shared faith that members' needs will be met through their commitment to be together. So in this regard, it's these values that are upheld by the members of the Dolby Touch Association that create a framework for a sense of belonging to form within the club. Further to these values that have been constructed within the association, belonging is also encouraged and promoted within the Dolby Touch community through the idea of uniforms. Now, it's a requirement of the club that each team wears a uniform that distinguishes them from other teams within the club. And the sense of uniformity that's created through the donning of uniforms and team colours creates a sense of equality between the members of the community. It's through the wearing of uniforms that all ideas of race and class are extinguished within the association, that all members are classed as equals, as united members of a community larger than just their team. And it's this sense of unity that creates an incredibly strong sense of belonging within the Dolby Touch Association. Now, as someone that's been a member of the Dolby Touch Association for over 12 years now, I've grown and developed with a large number of others within the association, and I believe I've come to really recognise what it means to belong to this club. As a sporting association that began as one of the smallest organisations in Dolby, the Dolby Touch Association has grown into a diverse community in regards to age, ability, race and gender that encourages and requires a sense of mateship, teamwork, competitiveness and, most of all, good spirit from its members. It's along with these values of inclusivity and equality that the association upholds. It's because of these aspects of the touch community that I really continue to be a part of it. Similar to what Macmillan and Chavis alluded to in their writings, it's these aspects that really bring the members of the Dolby Touch Association together as a group. They make you feel like you actually matter to people, and they display the characteristics of belonging that the association is built upon. Within the Dolby Touch Association, difference is clearly evident in relation to how gender functions in the community. In his writings on difference, Hickey expresses the idea that difference is often portrayed and thought of negatively. Within the Dolby Touch community, the impacts of difference in relation to gender have somewhat of a negative influence over members within the association, particularly the females within the collective. Now, the difference that is created through the segregation of males and females in the touch community is really detrimental to the sense of belonging within the club, as it challenges the female population's ability to feel like they matter to the group. And as a result of this, the females within the Dolby Touch Association struggle to have the basic human needs of belonging met. Middleton's work on difference reasons the difference present within the club, where she states that our problems in coping with issues of human diversity stem from simple misinformation, misunderstanding, and ignorant speculation about the meaning of physical differences. And like I stated earlier, it's because of the social constructions of gender that difference is really evident within this community. It's due to the perceived idea of what it means to be female that the female population in the Dolby Touch Association is undermined in their abilities and are therefore put at a disadvantage. And while an axis of race is not as prominent as that of gender, it still contributes to how difference is portrayed and enacted within the Dolby Touch community. Although it may not be so clear to the members within the association, race does play a significant role in regards to how the hierarchical system functions within the club. Similar to the impacts of gender, the structure of this authoritative system could bring about problems in regards to meeting the need of belonging for the non-whites within the club. As I stated earlier, this basically comes down to the idea of whiteness within the community, where the white population has the privilege of being the authoritative figures within the community, while the non-whites don't get much of a say at all. Now, as someone that's been a member of the Dalby Touch Football Association for over 12 years, I believe that I have the experience, knowledge and position and understanding within the club to be able to identify and relate to the axes of race, class and gender from my perspective within the association. The following learning episode has been designed in order to educate the Dalby Touch community on the identity of the Dalby Touch Association, how belonging and difference function within the association, and how the engagement of difference could be further promoted within the association. Now, as a collective that's primarily based on physical activity, providing a formally based classroom learning experience for the members of such a collective would be quite inappropriate. Therefore, the learning episode that has been created aims at providing hands-on activities that target the needs and interests of the members of the association as active individuals. Now, the learning episode that has been designed is based around a fun day at the Dalby Touch Fields, where members of the Dalby Touch Association are able to come along and join in educative activities that provide learning experiences based around the identity of the association, as well as how difference and belonging functions within it. In order to educate the members of the Dalby Touch Association about the identity of the community, the first learning experience will be based around the idea of a treasure hunt. The participants will begin in the parking lot of the Dalby Touch grounds, where they will be issued their first clue. From there on, the treasure hunt will contain 15 clues that the participants need to solve in order to collect their prize at the end. Each clue will contain information in regards to the association's identity in relation to the axes of identity that have been intertwined with a riddle that the participants need to solve in order to find the next clue. For example, one of the clues could be, the Dalby Touch Association caters for a diverse population. Go to the place where some of this diversity is stationed. This particular clue will lead them to a set of undercover domes that members of the community have traditionally written their names on to leave their mark. Here they will find a clue to lead them on to the next. Every time a participant finds a clue, they will also receive a badge that contains more of an elaboration of the information about the association's identity that was alluded to on the clue that they were initially given. The participants need to collect all of these badges in order to claim their prize at the end, which will be a Dalby Touch Association sports cap. Bonus prizes will also be given to those participants who are able to correctly answer questions from a quiz at the end of the treasure hunt in regards to the identity information that they collected throughout the treasure hunt. The use of a treasure hunt as a learning experience within this learning episode aims at educating the Dalby Touch community while meeting their needs and interests through providing a hands-on and physically active learning experience. The point of this particular activity is to instill within the participants the knowledge and understandings of how race, class and gender function within the Dalby Touch Association and how these axes of identity contribute to the community's identity as a whole. While the participants will gain a relatively good understanding of the identity of the collective through the treasure hunt, I really believe that it will be through the quiz and discussion of the information at the end of the treasure hunt that participants will gain the best understanding of the information that has been presented to them. This being due to the fact that verbal communication between members of the community will really allow people to express and discuss their beliefs and opinions in regards to the identity of the Dalby Touch Association, while also contributing their idea of what they believe the identity of the community to be. I strongly believe that this particular activity will achieve its purpose of educating the Dolby Touch community about the identity of the association in regards to the axes of identity. Through both individual work and collaborative group discussions, the participants of the treasure hunt will gain a deep understanding of not only what I myself see the identity of the association being, but also the ideas expressed by other members within the community. Difference within the Dolby Touch Association is largely influenced by gender roles and the social constructions of gender within the association. This particular learning activity will therefore focus on how different functions within the community in relation to gender. In order to educate the members of the Dolby Touch Association about how difference functions within the community in relation to gender, this particular activity will circulate around a mixed game of touch. The participants will be split into teams of 12, with 6 males and 6 females on each team, and they will then play a 30-minute game of mixed touch. At the end of the 30 minutes, the participants will gather together in a circle and discuss their experience within the game. The discussion will focus on points such as, how did you feel playing alongside people of the opposite sex? Would you prefer to play with people of your own sex, and why? How did your team structure itself in relation to field positions? Were the male players typically positioned in the middle field, while the females were positioned on the wing? Were you cautious of some players more so than others? What are your views of gender roles within sport? How do your views of gender roles influence the way that you thought and felt within the game? How do your views of gender roles influence your thinking in regards to the Dolby Touch Association and the way it should be structured? Should males and females be able to compete within the same team in touch? What are the restrictions of playing with teammates of the opposite sex? Why do you believe this to be so? How do you think gender segregation within the Dolby Touch Association affects members within the community? Is one gender marginalised more so than the other? How can we overcome the segregation between genders within the Dolby Touch Association? And how can we create equality within the Dolby Touch Association? Similar to the treasure hunt, this activity has been designed to meet the needs and interests of the members of the Dolby Touch community as an active collective, while educating them about how gender functions within the association in relation to difference. Through providing the participants with an active and hands-on learning experience, I believe that they will gain a deeper understanding of how gender impacts on the Dolby Touch Association as a community. The understanding that the participants will gain through the practical element of this lesson, this being the game of mixed touch, will be reinforced by the collaborative group discussion at the end of the game. The discussion points that I mentioned earlier aim to stimulate an understanding of how gender operates as a function of difference within the Dolby Touch Association. Through this discussion, it's my hope that the members of the community will obtain the ability to identify and recognise the nature of difference and how it functions within the association in regards to gender. Further to this, it's through the final points of this discussion that I hope to really challenge the members of the Dolby Touch community to really appreciate the idea of gender as diversity instead of difference, therefore transforming the presence of gender from a negative into a positive difference and therefore enhancing the sense of belonging within the community. In order to teach the members of the Dolby Touch Association about how belonging functions within the community, this activity will be based around the concept of arts and crafts. The participants will be asked to sketch up a uniform design that they think symbolises the Dolby Touch Association. Within their design, the participants will be required to think about and incorporate the values and morals that they themselves uphold in relation to sport, and also the values that they think the association itself upholds. Once the participants have completed their sketches, they will gather into small groups of 5 or 6 members to present their sketches to one another, expressing what values and morals they have incorporated into their uniform design and how these are reflective of the Dolby Touch Association. Following this, all of the participants will gather in a circle and a collaborative discussion of these values will take place. The discussion will focus on points such as what influenced these values that you have incorporated into your design, and how does your design reflect these values? Where would you apply these values within the Dolby Touch Association? Do you feel that these values reflect the morals, values and beliefs upheld by the Dolby Touch Association, and why? What morals, values and beliefs do you believe are upheld by the Dolby Touch Association? Who do you think these morals, values and beliefs would apply to within the Dolby Touch Association? What does it mean to belong to the Dolby Touch Association? Do you feel like you belong? Why or why not? Do you think that these morals, values and beliefs stimulate a sense of belonging within the Dolby Touch community? How so? How do these morals, values and beliefs contribute to the sense of community within the Dolby Touch Association? And how can these morals, values and beliefs be applied to the issue of difference in relation to gender within the Dolby Touch Association to create a greater sense of belonging within this community? The aim of this particular activity is to instill within the members of the Dolby Touch Association a sense of how belonging functions within the community and what morals, values and ethics within the association really help to achieve this sense of belonging. Through providing the participants with a hands-on experience that requires them to really think about their values and those upheld by the association, I believe that the members of the community will gain a greater understanding towards what it really means to belong to the association. This sense of understanding will be reinforced by the discussion following the arts and crafts part of the activity. It will be through this discussion that the members of the Dolby Touch Association will be able to share and add to each other's opinions in regards to the morals, values and beliefs upheld by the association. This, therefore, instilling a greater knowledge, understanding and ability to recognise how belonging functions within the community. Through the final point within the collaborative group discussion, the participants will really be encouraged to think about how these morals, values and beliefs might be applied to the issue of gender segregation within the community and how these morals, values and beliefs could help overcome this issue. It's through this final point that the members of the Dolby Touch Association will be able to recognise and reconcile the differences within the association through the concept of belonging that is evident within the community. Through participation in the Fun Day, the members of the Dolby Touch Association will be encouraged to think about the identity of the association and how difference and belonging functions within it. The activities offered throughout the day aim to instill within the members the knowledge and understandings of how these elements exist within the association and really encourage and challenge them to contribute their opinions to the group discussions and activities.